Hey Twisters, so in this video I wanted to talk about what makes a player generational. So of course we're talking about Connor Bedard here because he's been called by various outlets and probably from the likes of yourselves a generational NHL ready talent. And he's been kind of compared to Connor McDavid as the most generational player since McDavid. That's a word that is associated with some of the all-time greats. But after reading a couple of articles that have come out recently, I've come to realize that generational isn't just necessarily being as good as the next Hockey Hall of Famer. So let's explore this, and of course, guys, feel free to weigh in the comments down below. How generational could Connor Bedard be? So when looking at these two players' draft-eligible years, you can tell that they were clearly really dominant out there. So Connor McDavid, he played in fewer games than Dylan Strome and Mitch Marner, who went third and fourth in that same year's NHL Draft. And yeah, he put up easily the highest points per game rate there, just clearly dominant. And for Connor Bedard, it's pretty similar as well. So he's leading the WHL in both goals and total points, and he's even played in fewer games than some of the other league leaders there. I think it's also interesting here to compare him to somebody he's played alongside in World Juniors competition, and that's Logan Stankoven. I've actually seen him a couple times in person. He's an excellent player, drafted in the second round by the Dallas Stars a couple years ago. But the thing is that even though Stankoven's played fewer games, he's not producing at the same rate as Connor Bedard. Actually, Connor Bedard has the highest goals per game rate in WHL history for a player who's only 17 years old. But outside of junior play, we should definitely look at the World Juniors. That's kind of a good measuring stick as to comparing these talents versus great skaters from Europe and from other leagues as well. So, of course, with the World Juniors, both of these players won gold in their draft eligible year. So Connor McDavid, he was tied for the tournament lead in points. He had 11 points in 7 games. And then you flash forward to this year when Connor Bedard put on an absolute spectacle, scoring 9 goals and 14 assists for 23 points in just those 7 games and breaking all sorts of tournament records. For his age, he had the most number of points in that tournament since Jaromir Jagr. So does that mean that one Connor is better than the other Connor? I personally can't make that decision right now. I just looked a little bit at sort of the comparables here when we talk about other generational players. For example, Gretzky said that Connor McDavid, this is back in 2015, was the best to come into the NHL in the last 30 years. He was on the same level as Sidney Crosby and Mario Lemieux. Whereas with Bedard, it's a lot easier to compare him to someone like Connor McDavid, right? Somebody in recent years, we have lots of highlights of him, a lot more articles and that sort of thing. So it's easier to draw that sort of comparison. I find it interesting though that, the year after McDavid's drafted, Austin Matthews is first overall. And just a couple years after that, Jack Hughes, who is having an incredible season for New Jersey, he's first overall. So it makes me really think of that fine line because Jack Hughes and Austin Matthews are elite talents in this NHL, but are they generational? How do we define generational just beyond the skill set, beyond the numbers, beyond Stanley Cups even? Well, I kind of see it this way. Connor McDavid really set the standard for what we're seeing in the NHL right now. You think of Crosby, who came, a decade before he did, and even Ovechkin, and what they were able to pioneer when the NHL was still kind of coming out of the dead puck era. So that kind of makes me wonder, would Connor Bedard then, would he be someone who influences the game going forward in the way that Connor McDavid does, and the way that Sidney Crosby and Ovechkin did before them? There are some out there who don't think Bedard is going to necessarily be on that level. I look at Corey Pronman from The Athletic. He would be considered as kind of the next level underneath, right? So would that be Austin Matthews or Jack Hughes in today's NHL? Would it be Nathan MacKinnon perhaps? Well, Pronman said more along the lines of Pavel Bure or Patrick Kane as maybe the most exciting player or the most electric player in the NHL going forward. So after assessing that, I think to myself, well, that still means that he could be a Hall of Famer, absolutely. And there could be others in that draft class who are Hall of Famers as well. And then I read a couple of articles from CBC and also from The Athletic. And it really helped me shape sort of my understanding of what a generational player is. First of all, with Connor Bedard, it's that he wants to be a generational player. And it's not just with the plays that he makes on the ice. It's really the work that he puts in to becoming the best player among the top prospects out there. It's the fact that he shows up at the rink an hour and a half before practice starts, and that he'll stay on the ice even 2 hours after everybody else has left. And by committing himself more as an athlete and as a skilled hockey player, really that does show up. Even if he's not necessarily the best skater out there, he can still keep his feet moving and come at you in ways that other attackers necessarily won't. Denton Matejchuk had something to say about that recently. And then one step forward, that can actually turn into results on the ice, the ability to extend plays, the ability to score from anywhere, and ultimately, as Connor McDavid says, the ability to perform well in big moments. But what I really think rounds out my understanding of a generational player is that Bedard is just somebody who, as soon as he touches the puck, you expect something amazing to happen. And Connor McDavid is very similar in that sense as well. He has the ability to make highlight reel plays in each and every game. I mean, this guy is scoring hat tricks every other game, seemingly. And I think that's very important in today's NHL. We saw that recently, viewership has dropped off by 22% compared to the previous season. So you need that player who's able to actually score these highlight reel goals. You also have to have a player who's marketable, even though the NHL as a whole hasn't done the best job with that. Someone like Connor Bedard, his jerseys are selling out so fast that the Pats can't even keep them stocked. When he goes on the road to Calgary or even to Vancouver, where he's from, these arenas are selling out just to see him. The average attendance for a Calgary Hitmen game is about 3,500, but when Bedard came into that building at the Saddle Dome, they had over 17,000 fans there. So when you look at Connor Bedard, right, when he's a 24-year-old, let's say, when he's entering his prime, Connor McDavid's going to be a lot older. He'll be probably in his, mid-30s or 32, 33 by then. Will he be able to produce at the same level as he is right now? Not necessarily. So you do need that next wave of generational talent, however you want to define that. And even more importantly, hopefully he can go to a team that actually needs it, that the fans need it, that market needs it as well. But really, there's an opportunity for Connor Bedard to maybe even have the same sort of impact as Wayne Gretzky when he was traded from the Oilers to the Kings. I mean, we look at a couple of California teams like the Anaheim Ducks and the San Jose Sharks, the ability to grow the game in these markets. Of course, go a little bit east, and we're talking about Arizona and the possibility of a new arena there. Or you look at the Columbus Blue Jackets out east, the opportunity to grow the game there. A couple players from Ohio are in the NHL right now, like JT Miller and Jack Roslovic. But really, with that elite level talent, just think about what that can do to that sports market. So even if Connor Bedard isn't necessarily the same generational player as Connor McDavid, he really does have an opportunity to be a generational figure in hockey. The way that Crosby has been in Pittsburgh, the way that McDavid is in Edmonton or Austin Matthews in Toronto. And to put together a Hall of Fame career just chock full of highlight reel goals and highlight reel plays. So that is, I think, what it means to be a generational talent in today's NHL and to get everybody online talking about you and that sort of thing, like Bedard has done over the past couple of years. But anyway, guys, I want to know your thoughts in the comments down below. What is the generational potential, I guess, of Connor Bedard? So sound off down there. And if you haven't already, check out my Bedard power rankings where I rank teams based on how much they need Connor Bedard. Also see the video description for more goodies, including other great videos you can watch. And don't forget, if you haven't already, check out my newest channel, that is Sudden Death Sports. We have a great feature on the most violent headhunter in NHL history. Leave a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys in the next video. I'm Nick. I'll catch you Twisters later. Ciao.